Hi, I'm Emma from Unique Phoenix. I'm a transformation coach, healer, speaker, author, and an unapologetic, curious soul. Connected Conversations is here to bring love, healing, and connection to our everyday life through open and authentic conversations. Every conversation, I am privileged to interview women and men in our community that are here being their authentic selves, sharing their unique and wonderful talents with the world around them. I'm going to let them introduce themselves and then we can get to know them better and what they offer through this connected conversation. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Sondre Callec from Feminine Power and Prosperity, and I'm the creator of the Wealthy Goddess Code for spiritual entrepreneurs finding their way through the maze of bringing their gifts out into the world.
Well, hello and welcome to Connected Conversations. I am Emma from Unique Phoenix and I am absolutely so grateful and feel very privileged and honoured to be sharing some time with Sondre Callec today from the Feminine Power and Prosperity. That's her business. Wowzers. I'm not only have the honour of saying that Sondre is my friend, but I've also had the privilege of working with Sondre as well, and the amazing things and the achievements I've, created and made within my business and continue to make through the work that I've done with Sondre. So thank you so much for sharing your beautiful time and energy.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm super excited about today's chat on the couch.
I know it is called Connected Conversations on the Couch. However, you've got to go with where you're at the moment and keep moving forward. And this is what we can do in the current time that we're living in.
I love it. I love the initiative.
Thank you. So look, being that I've done the work with you, I know that the topic today is so relevant in the work that you do, which is around responsibility and vulnerability. Two very tough things to talk about, not only in business, but in personal life as well.
Absolutely.
But I absolutely want to start at the beginning with your story because I love hearing this. So I want to ask, how did you get into doing what you do?
Oh, okay. Well, I mixed my corporate background, which is sales and actual recruitment, and where I sold millions and millions and millions of dollars inside of the corporate space in which I played in. Yeah, it was just fantastic. I had a lot of fun. And then what happened was, I found my way to my own, self-development, my own spiritual pathway. And I've probably been kicking around this space for probably 10, kind of bordering on 15 years. And it was one evening in Colorado, which is really funny place to be. And it was my second time being there doing a teacher's training, gathering yet again a new modality that I thought, sure, that would be, an amazing privilege to be able to teach and be able to share, and which I did. I did that for 3 years. And but what happened was we were at this, I'd orchestrated this dinner, people from the past course and the present course, and we all caught up. It was just fantastic. You know what it's like, a babble of women, who have just, all had their own emotional and spiritual breakthroughs. It's always beautiful, beautiful energy to be around. And anyway, we were there, we were at this dinner, and I was chit-chatting away about how they were going to do it, because I'd already orchestrated my own circle to lead, and I'd done that before I'd left to go on this course. It was all booked in. I had people paid and signed up, and I was just like, I was on one of those all-time euphoric highs, what happens when you've just, learned a new modality. Anyhow, in this conversation with these women, they said, oh yeah, we love this work, but now we've got to sell it, right? And I'm like, oh my God, that's the easy part. You can do that standing on your head. And then there was that eerie silence where I looked up from my dinner and looked at the woman right in front of me, like I just, whacked them with a wet fish. And it was really amazing response to have from somebody who comes from a sales as service background, right? And so I went away from that dinner, you know, thinking about all of the things that they told me, like this cacophony of thoughts and beliefs that really do not exist anywhere else other than, you know, in the conversation with the crazy ladies in the attic. However, it was through that call or through that conversation that I really got to see that there was a need for sales training that had, you know, like a spiritual aspect to it. It had the ability to really form a service bond with your clients, and a way to do that where the conversation was authentic. You know, you're not just selling somebody a widget, something that they don't need, but transformation. And when transformation, you know, when you get the call for transformation, there's a variety of things that's happening for the individual, the client who is looking to change. And most of that is fear-based, right? Because it's, can I do it? Is this the right course? Have I got this right? Will this give me the results that I want? And they have all of these questions that really need to be honored and answered through a really grounded conversation with somebody who is there to honor the decision to find a good fit and not just make a sale. And so that's how my business landed. It was an amazing experience. And now I'm really blessed to bring this work out to so many more women, and it enriches my life too. So yeah, there's my little snapshot of how
I love it. And I, you know, I'm one of those women, you know, when I came to work with you, I have got a sales background. I've worked in that industry in management, and yeah, I've got a huge background. However, it just wasn't the kind of sales that I found authentic. And, you know, and I've been in those coaching sales calls as well on the other end of it, how pushy and how, you know, driven they are. And it was just like, I don't want to be part of that. I want to be part of that part of the industry. I love being in the coaching industry, but definitely not part of that sales, that hard, you've got to do this. I mean, I can remember someone saying to me, do you need your husband to help you make a decision? And I was like, well, not really. I didn't. And then when we got to the end of it, I said, okay, well, I'm going to have a chat to my partner with this. Well, I thought you could make this, like trying to guilt me into it. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah, I had to have had amazing experiences like that. I remember one day being so excited about this presentation that this man was giving. And I was like, oh my God, he's my man. Like, he's the person that's going to really help me with this thing that I want to bring out to the world. And I got onto a call with him, and right at the beginning, so there was this little chit chat, you know, he's all nice and friendly. And then he got into sales mode. Right? And then it was like, answer these questions, you know, and then he said something that really kind of made my little internal radar go, ooh, you're not quite what you presented to be. And the thing that he said was, irrespective of what happens on this call today, you and I will part as friends. And I was like, right, yeah, in a spark. Oh my goodness.
Sorry, have we met before? Have we hung out? Like we've had some wine. Like, what's happened here?
It was a really interesting experience because I, like you, got guilted right at the end of the conversation. In fact, he said to me, how dare you make me go through all of this to say no to me? And at that point, I was like,
what do you?
Beep, 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 beep. But the other thing that I was thinking was, it's got nothing to do with you, buddy. It's to do with me. I'm the client. I'm the person that's in front of you. And then he proceeded to say, right at the end, when I'd said, definitely, I'm still definitely a no, thank you for your time, he said to me, I am so disappointed in you, Sondre. At which point I was like, well, you and your horse can go sideways. But this was...
Shut the front door.
Exactly, shut the front door. Like, who the hang do you think you are? And so what happened through that conversation was, again, an awareness that we need a different sales approach when we're actually talking to our customers, and we want it to be heartfelt. We're in a heartfelt business, right? We're all about transformation, and we need to be we need to consistently present as who we are and not just change in the moment, right? And that's, you know, one of the things that I hear with women, oh, I don't want to be a salesperson. I'm like, well, thank goodness for that, because that's not what this course is about. So yeah, I've certainly you've been Em, and it's just.
And then there's the other side of it, which I was this. So there's that end of it, you know, and then there's the other side of it, which I'll get to in a minute. And I love because yours brought me back into balance. And so I was on the other side of it where I was having great conversations with people, not making offers, not asking, actually, not calling for action, because I was like, I don't want to be perceived that way. So I didn't know how to come back into balance with that and how to confidently, because you know, the work I do is of value, as is yours. However, I wasn't even asking people to do anything. I was like, thanks for that chat. Okay, let me know what you want to do. That was my offer. Like, woo! So, you know, your wealthy goddess code really brought me back into balance. It gave me that confidence to ask at the end for their decision and have no attachment to it at the same time as well. So, you know, and that's that opposite end of, well, you need to make a decision. And you know, there's women out there that, I'm not saying that it's men or women. It's, you know,
that was just my experience.
That was my experience too. So, but then there are those that just don't even ask, keep putting their stuff out there and going, why aren't I getting clients? Well, you've got to kind of ask, which I love what the code does, because it really does take you through. So I love that, because it wouldn't have been an easy road, because you had all those faces staring back at you blankly, and that really could have shut you down, thinking, oh, Jesus, but it didn't.
No, not at
all.
all.
It you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So that's 3 years ago.
Yeah.
What keeps you motivated, Son?
Oh, that's a really good question. You know what? As an individual, this probably will sum it up quite well. As an individual, there is only so much change that I can create in the world. There is only so much light that I can bring into the world through the work that I do, right? But when I work with gorgeous people like Emma, and they have these amazing gifts, like you're a channeler, you're a healer, the coaching program we put together is like kick ass. It's like so super amazing. So if anybody's looking for a kick ass coach, energy gal, right?
You can't help yourself but sell, can you?
I can't help myself. But it's helping you bring your light out into the world. And the more people that I help, the more light that comes out into the world. And really, honestly, you know, I see so many gifted women who do not know how to articulate their offer. They don't know how to move from selling their gifts, you know, their modalities by the hour, and actually create something that is truly a change agent, right? Because we can only do so much, as you know, and as a lot of women know, we can only provide so many breakthroughs in a single session, right? And we know that we need to work with people over a length of time, whether that's 8 weeks or 12 weeks, and people have year-long courses and all the rest of it. But whatever it is that you're doing, you need to be able to formulate that around the result that your clients are looking for. And so for me, I just get buzzed out, really, to be honest. You know, I have people that come to me that are, you know, been in business for like 18 years. They're authors, they're teachers, they're master healers of whatever modality it is that they have. And when they come into the program and they're able to share that with more of the world, that's what juices me up. That's just like, that is the gold of what I do. Yeah, it's perfect.
And it is in everything that you do, Sondre, and how you present and how you share. You really are this amazing cheer squad. Well after.
Yeah, well after.
Because it's like you fall in love with their work. Even if it's not for you, you fall in love with it every time. And you want to keep sharing it. Like,
absolutely,
it is amazing. Like, you're like this spruiker. Love it.
Like your own little spruiker.
I know, each and every time. So I do want to talk about responsibility, because that's absolutely beautiful. And for me, the big part of what I believe you give clients is a responsibility. But I want to know from you, how does it show up for your clients?
How does responsibility show up for my clients? thoughts?
Look, I even made a face when I got responsibility.
Yeah.
It's a tough one.
Feeling into that as well. You know, I would say that a lot of my clients come to me with an overwhelming sense of responsibility.
Okay.
And that is really quite causes, you know, a paralysis, because they know they have so much to offer, and yet they are still in the mindset and the energetic, you know, set of your physical and spiritual being around that. If somebody comes into my course, somebody comes into my program, I am responsible for their result. And that's a really big, heavy, like, even when you say that, right, it's heavy, and it causes people to be restrained. Right? It becomes very, this is when they get really closed. They don't want to talk about what they do, and they don't want to take on that responsibility and that burden, and blah, 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 blah. Right? I've heard all sorts of stories, right? But it's the ability to take responsibility for yourself first, the gifts that you bring out into the world. And I think there is the responsibility component of who you be, how you show up, how you do that consistently, and how you honor your role in your course delivery, right? And so responsibility shifts when you become more self-responsible, because you know that you're not there to make things happen for other people, right? You want their journey to be one of responsibility as well. And I think there's a certain amount of, you know, we're about to go into that, a certain amount of vulnerability that comes with that, right? I have these amazing skills, but you've still got to do the work, Mr. or Mrs. Client. That's responsibility, right?
Yeah. And I was about to ask that question. How do you help your clients move through that? But you're already getting to that already.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. It's just
No,
like,
don't even apologize. I love it. Because it's true, because you really do have to move your clients through that. If they're coming to you with that sense of, oh my God, I'm responsible for every single client and their outcomes and what they do, then like that's pretty heavy for them to move through that.
And I think, you know, that has to do with the energetic boundary in which we set around our business, because that's being responsible, right? It's being responsible in a soul-connected conversation with somebody about whether they're going to work with you, and you're taking responsibility of whether I truly want to work with this person. Are they accountable? Can I hear in their conversation that I can really serve them? And if not, taking full responsibility and not making an offer. Like that's, you know, they're really different, funny little things that come in. And then at the same time, being fully responsible in making an offer, right? And that's all the energy that you sit in when you're in those, I don't want to call them sales conversations. I want to call them enrollment conversations, or soulful or heartfelt connections, because that is responsibility, right? Right there.
So can I ask you, you used a term before, energetic boundary. Can we talk about that? Because I think that's huge to think about. I mean, I talk about boundaries, you know, within, you know, the work that I do, but when we're talking about around business, I think that's something that's interesting to explore.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So one of the things that I have blended into the Wealthy Goddess Code is the energetic practices that support a woman to be able to come out, to be able to raise her voice, you know, to lend her voice to conversations that are important. It's the energetic boundary of, you know, how you hold your heart space, because, you know, we as spiritual conscious entrepreneurs, we feel so much. Otherwise we'd be just as, we would have chosen something else if we didn't feel, right? And we are real feeling beings. But in our energetic space that encompasses our business, it's really important to understand that we are not separate from it. It's not something that we just suddenly, you know, put on the hat, you know, like become the salesperson or become the coach, right?
Yeah.
We are all of those things all of the time, right? How we incorporate that into our energetic space and how that holds boundaries, right? Because we all have had the experience, some more than others, of having people be on the phone or be on a Facebook Live or ask us some questions in Messenger and all of those types of things. And yet the energetic boundary that goes, this is my work, but it's not free for you to pick my brain, right? That's, you know, that's one of the boundaries that is really important as a spiritual entrepreneur. And it's really important to be able to, you know, I'll sum up the boundary even quicker than that. The boundary helps you as a spiritual entrepreneur always remain in service. Because once you step outside of that boundary that you've created around your business, about who you serve and how you serve them, once you step outside of that, you step very quickly into servitude, right? And the big overgiving hearts that I meet, it's like, yeah, let's shore that up. Let's have some boundaries around who you serve and why and when. So yeah, does that help with?
Oh God, I think that's amazing. And it's really clear. I mean, boundaries, you know, I talk about it a lot. They're so incredibly important. But the responsibility you have for them, and you're so right. Without those boundaries in business, you're not being of service, because you're just giving so much away for free. And you know, the reality is, in the world, we work for money.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's got to be an exchange. And if someone just wants to keep coming after you and asking you questions, and I've definitely had that experience, you know, and I've done readings on, you know, my mini readings, people send me a message asking if there's anything else, or what the other messages were that were coming through. And I was like, great, you can book a time with me. Whereas I know in the past I may have gone into it, but since working with you, I've really cleared that up, because you're so right. We're not in service when we're just handing it out. And also it's our time. Our time's
so precious.
Well, you can't get it back.
Sorry, what's that?
Can't get it back.
No, you can't.
No one else can spend it for you. It's your commodity.
But you can't actually make an impact while you're doing and giving for free. Like, you're giving yourself dry, right? And so that's another one of the energetic practices that we do, is how to fill our own cup, energetically speaking, right? So that we're always, you know, when we're ready to step forward and it's time to serve, that we are well with it, like everything is set up energetically. All you need to do is turn up and be your authentic self, right? Without that kind of level of grounding, you're like, la, 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 turning up being what anybody else needs you to be at that time. So yeah, boundaries, 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 all the time, boundaries.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, okay, that's for clients.
Yeah.
I want to know what responsibility means to you.
Yeah. Sure. So responsibility for me also means exactly what I was talking about for my clients, right? If I am here to be a leader, if I'm here to be a change maker, if I'm here to provide people with tools and breakthroughs and systems and frameworks that support their growth, then my responsibility is to make those systems as streamlined as possible. To have them always be a resource is really important for me. It's not like, I mean, you still fall back on the resources that you learned, you know, and how to structure a program and all of those types of things. And how many have you produced now? 4?
I came out of two online programs and a full 12-week coaching course, and I'm just working on another workshop now and some other stuff in just a different. So it's just there, and like I just keep going back to it all the time.
Yeah, and I think, you know, like, self-responsibility is how I show up. Who am I here to serve? Am I doing that work? Am I doing it well? You know, when there's times when I've got to be completely focused. And I think last week was an example of this. And, you know, in full responsibility, I didn't get back to somebody who needed an answer. And, you know, at the same time, I've got to be forgiving, self-allowing. I've got to be able to look at that with my perspective, from my perspective, not the other person's perspective, right? They have no idea what's going on in Sondre land at Camp Callec, right? And so it's important to be able to, self-responsibility is not falling into guilt. It's not falling into shame. It's not falling into having an upset, right? It's being self-responsible for who I am and what I'm doing. So does that help? Like, is that really,
100%, absolutely, because it is, and that shows up in the work that you do. It shows up when you speak online. It shows up when you're coaching. It absolutely oozes into everything. And even in friendship as well with you, it absolutely, that shows up 100%. Yeah. So, all right, well, that's responsibility, which is, like we've only really scratched the surface on it because it's such a big topic. However, I really think we've given people something to think about within their own businesses as well. But I will say this, if you are in a spiritual business, coaching, a business of service, then and you need to really create some programs, and I think everyone does need to have something in package that they offer, and whatever language that you use and offer.
To be able to support yourself and support your business.
100%.
Right? Those core offers. And then from my perspective, this is purely from my perspective, ladies, if you don't have a core offer, you are not actually serving change, your ability to create change for your clients, because they get that in one-off sessions where they turn up because they feel a bit crappy and they need to do some work. No, you're actually looking for people who actually want to do the work, who are ready to do the work, who are committed to doing the work. And you can't do that from offering your time by the hour. It just cannot be done.
Absolutely.
There you go. That's my straight talk. But
no, I love it. And you know what? We need that in the world. Like we need that. I mean, you know me, I'm a straight talker. So I absolutely highly recommend seeing Son in that. And the accountability that you hold and the space that you hold is so loving and so beautiful and fully supportive as we work through it. And, it's work.
It's work. It's certainly not play. But it's good.
So, and that was, and the other thing I wanted to point out is what you helped me offer otherwise was the healings that I do. So, I've got many offerings that I do. It wasn't just a program that I created, a 12-week course and the 2 online. I also came out of it with different healing sessions that I offer as well. So, it was like a whole business that I came out of. And, before I did it, I didn't actually realize what a high achiever I was. I really, and I came out of it and I remember saying that to you. I remember saying that to you, like, I didn't know I was a high achiever. And you're like, what?
Shut the front door. What?
Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay. So,
and
I love it because we really are. We're having a vulnerable conversation right now. And I think that's a really good lead into it because, what you're seeing here while you're watching this is absolutely 2 very empowered women who are just showing up as themselves.
As we are.
So then, let's talk about vulnerability because it really, I mean, look, it's huge. But when we're talking about, sorry, darling.
Big topic.
It is. I do want to keep it in line with the beautiful work that you do in the Wealthy Goddess Code. So how then, and when you're talking about energetic boundaries and those spiritual practices and the energy practice, and we can take the word spiritual out of it. We can just say energy practice. And that is a tangible skill that you leave every single client with. And even if you remove that spiritual word out of it, because that is intangible for many people, but energy isn't. I mean, a cup of tea, everything has energy around it. So, those practices are amazing. How do you then move a client through the Wealthy Goddess Code through the vulnerability of it?
Oh my goodness. I think the whole journey is vulnerable, actually. I think it takes a lot for clients to turn up, like, especially if you're thinking about some of my clients who are published authors. They've been in business for, 10, 12, 18 years, and they're still not getting the results that they want. They're not actually making the impact that they want. Like that's vulnerability at its absolute best, right? And so, one of the things that I do when I'm working with a client is really tap into their desire, because by tapping into somebody's desire, the vulnerability of what they're not achieving lessens, because we're coming at it from an entirely different perspective, and we create things that they actually want to be doing. You know, I have some clients that turn up and they're doing work that's really not aligned to them, right? It's not actually soulfully led, let me put it that way, right? And, you know, so there's all sorts of things that we unpack. There's the vulnerability around money. There's the vulnerability around selling. There's the vulnerability about, this is what I have to offer. I've just, you know, sweated blood and tears and all the rest of it to create this beautiful offering. And, you know, that's being vulnerable, lending your voice to things that, you know, are an important conversation, you know, around your work, around being human. You know, they are things that, you know, need to be built up in a person. And there's a variety of ways that I do that with specific clients, but I'm trying to think of a really good example so I can show it.
Can I? Yeah, you got one?
Why don't you ask me another question?
So, because and I love that, because you're right, showing up with you, I didn't know how vulnerable I was going to have to be, right? Yeah. So, and I wasn't in resistance to it. That's absolutely part of the work that I do. So I then want to ask, how do you help clients understand that it's a superpower? Because you would have, I'm sure you'd have clients turning up not knowing that this is vulnerable for them to do this, because some of the clients you're talking about are turning up almost and vulnerability can feel quite desperate. And teaching someone to use that as a strength. How do you show them that that's vulnerable and help them know that that's okay?
I think one of the ways in which I've done that is I've led with vulnerability myself, right? So if you ever hear me talk about the Wealthy Goddess Code as and I'm standing up and I'm presenting, I take people through my actual journey, and my journey, you know, my journey before I began was one of real poverty. You know, like I lived with, you know, my family of origin. You know, at one point we were so poor we didn't have a house. We actually lived in a tent. If there was food on the table, it was a complete blessing. If you had half an orange to share with your sister, then that was just like, oh, I'm getting goosebumps. It's like, you know, like a complete godsend. It was a miracle. But as I moved through my life and I decided the things that were important to me, and one of those was my own personal economic empowerment, because I was a very, very young single mum. And before I started in my sales career, my daughter's daycare cost more than our rent, right? So this is me at about 23. We're still living with housemates. I'm still working 3 jobs because one of my things was, you know, one of my old mindsets was you have to work hard to get your money. When I gave that up, life became a little bit sweeter. Anyway, when I started in my sales career, within 5 years, my whole economic position had changed. And I had, you know, traded in my $700 Ford Cortina for a black Mazda MX-6, which we called Sugar. We name our cars. We're a bit odd, apparently. Not everybody does that. I bought my first home, our first 3-bedroom home. It was the first time since Alana was born that we did not have housemates. We got to live by ourselves. It was just like, it was like the ultimate freedom at the time, right? And so I had all of this stuff going for me. Life just looked absolutely wonderful. And then I landed myself in a recruitment job, which I thought, oh, that's going to be right. That is going to be just the easiest number going. And I was the worst, absolute worst consultant going. And, you know, the things that I did that I needed to do to structure, you know, I ran that business like it was my own. I had to structure how I wanted that to be. I had to identify the clients that I wanted to serve. I wanted to find out what niche I was going to fit into. And at the same time, I realized that what I lacked was a mentor, because like a lot of salespeople, we're put into jobs and there's no training. You either survive and thrive or you're off, right? And so, you know, being the worst consultant, you talk about being vulnerable, right? There, it's like I was expecting my success to have people like me more, and it made them like me less, right? In my office, I was pretty much, you know, like I'd get my awards, you know, for the quarter, and it'd just be like kind of thrown over the boardroom table, right? So when I tell stories like this, and then from that point to within 18 months becoming the top consultant in my office, the top consultant in New Zealand, the top consultant in Australasia, you know, like they are all fantastic results. But we don't really care about the results, do we? We care about the journey that somebody's gone on to get those, you know, to have success, where they've almost made it and then they haven't again, and it's all those sorts of things. That's vulnerability at its best, right? And it's, you know, it takes a certain amount of internal freedom to be able to speak those things out into the world. And that's how I lead. I lead with vulnerability. It's something that just comes into the business, because clients that we're attracting into our businesses, they're really interested in the story, in the journey that we've all taken to get to where we're at, living the lives that we're living. So there you go. There's vulnerability.
I love that. I love that, because, and that was one of the questions, you know, how does it support your life? And once you've learned the skill of it, it's freeing.
Yeah.
Vulnerability, you know, it's like this superpower, really, because it just allows so much into your life, like the ability to be wrong.
And
step into something and go, I don't know. You've just, that opens the door to learn so much more.
I'll tell you a funny little thing.
Yeah.
Just recently, I put out, you know, abundance embodying incantations. There was a list of 23 of them that were for people to use in their businesses, to have them be something that they did every day, right? And really power up with them. You know, things like, it's safe for me to succeed, I'm a wealth magnet, you know, money and I are best friends, you know, all of these really juicy kind of things, right? And I was really, really pleased with the with the work that I put out. And a client emailed me and told me I had spelt abundant incorrectly. Right, which was just the biggest giggle. But here's the thing. 6 months ago or 12 months ago, I would have been a mess over a mistake, right? What was really funny is I worked through the document, like scanning it for everything, right? I realized that I spelled abundance wrong on a like slide 23 or something like that, right? But that's been okay with being vulnerable. It's okay with making mistakes. It's okay to be human, right? We're not up here on some bloody pedestal. We're here to be ourselves, and we're here to continue to be ourselves, right? And you can't do that if you're not willing to be vulnerable.
And I want to ask the question, how does it support your clients? But I feel like because I want to hear that. I feel like I already know what that's going to look like, but because you definitely lead by example within that as well. And you know, I came into your space, you coaching me, already understanding vulnerability, and like, here it is.
Here it is.
And, you know, I definitely had moments where I was telling you to shut the front door because of, you know, things that were really coming up for me.
Which but is something out of me, I must say. Here I am, I'm just in a coaching session with Em. She's like, shut the front door. I'm like, oh my God, here it comes. Em's going to tell me off. But it was hilarious. It was the fun.
Yeah, totally dropped the F-bomb. And I definitely do. But, you know, like that, I know how it supports me, you know how it supports you, but how does it support your clients? Like because like I said, I've really know a lot of your clients, and I don't think they come to you knowing just how vulnerable they need to be. I don't think they understand it. So how does it then support them? Like once they have those moments of understanding, how does it support them?
Imagine having something that you're really proud of, that you've just created, and you know it's going to change lives, you know it's going to make an impact. Imagine sitting there without the skill of vulnerability and trying to make offers with that, right? It is virtually impossible. And when clients come in to start to work with me, they have no idea that the core skill we're building is vulnerability, right? Because we want to be human. We want to continue to connect. We want to serve. We want to do it authentically. And that takes vulnerability, right?
I've got goosebumps
I
while
know,
you're saying it.
yes,
It's
yeah,
so, but it's
like
absolutely on point.
yeah.
Because vulnerability allows tolerance. It allows you to make mistakes. It
Right.
allows you to learn and be
Yeah.
open to new and wonderful things, and
Yeah.
just completely shut the front door on things all the time, like just completely, you know, mess them
Absolutely.
up, and
And
be
we
able to
wanna
take
match
that.
it energetically, right? We can't expect clients to come and do soulful, deep work with us if we're going to stand there behind the glass tower and not show them who we are, right? That's
yeah.
just never going to work, chickadees. So yeah, that's how it goes. That's how it rolls.
I absolutely love it. And I already feel like we're getting to this, but I do want to keep this going because it is one of the key results, and a key part of what you do. What changes does vulnerability and responsibility allow for your clients then? Where does it lead them to?
I would say that nearly all of the clients that come to work with me know what they want to do. They have that feeling, they have that pull. And what coexists with that, especially in the self-development space, is the imposter syndrome. Who am I to do this? Who am I to lend my voice to this specific conversation, whether it's, learning to sell properly, creating a program, whether it's helping a person lose weight, whether it's doing channeled healing, whether it's doing any of our work, there comes that question. Because when we begin, there is always other people doing things that we are currently not and that we aspire to be, right? And so breaking down where all of those parts of that imposter syndrome live inside of their hearts, inside of their energy, inside of their work, where they're a little bit scared to kind of, put that thing in there because it might be a little bit too provoking, that it's who am I to even make money out of my gifts? That's a huge conversation, and for some women, that's a really dark freaking conversation. And it's like, that is, I think, probably the one place that I struggle to keep my, to keep allowing a conversation that doesn't serve people, right? I want to get right in there and clean it all up, and which is what we do, right? Part of what we do. But vulnerability comes into every aspect of bringing your gifts out into the world and being okay with that and building the inner resources. Having somebody bloody cheer you on for a start who says, oh my God, that is amazing. Like some of the work that Ems is like, really? Oh my God. Oh, that's so amazing. Oh, that's so cool. Other clients, it's like, who knew you had all that sitting in you, right? And it's like, that's just bringing it out in them, bringing out this sense of very serious business, and I've got to succeed and I've got to be this type of person. I've got to fuck off. You don't, right? You really don't. The only thing you need to get good at is being yourself. And that raises all sorts of, the bag opens, right?
And I do want to say that was one of a really challenging session for me when we went through, and because in the back of my brain you were going through what have I done, the courses that I've done, what skills do I had, and the conversation in my brain was, oh, holy shit, I haven't done enough. Oh my God, she's going to tell me I have to go out and study some stuff. I have to go do some more work. Oh my God. And we got to the end of it and you were like, well, holy shit, lady. It's almost like I was overqualified, like, wow, look at everything you have to offer. And then you were rattling it off and I was like hearing it for the first time and going, shit, damn, woman. Like, I had never looked at it in such a vulnerable way, but also a very loving way and honoring
Yeah.
everything that I'd done. So
Oh,
I was one of those people that that was very vulnerable space for me to be in, to
yeah.
hear you feed back, and in such a different way, very different to the conversation that was going on in my head.
Your head with the crazy
Your
lady.
head was like, well, holy shit, woman.
Yeah.
Wowzers. Let's just
Absolutely.
break. And literally you were like, man, we need to break that apart because you're
Yeah.
offering too much.
Much.
And when I did, I was like, whoa, you're right. Like there's this. And that's how I came out with 2 online courses in a full
Yeah.
12-week. And then soon after, looking at my channeled healing and what I
Yeah.
do. And the other thing that conversation did for me was stop me from continually adding modalities,
Oh,
because I just, wow, just how about you do what you do, Em? Because
yeah.
what you do is pretty bloody. And so it actually, it was quite amazing. And is that through Money Honey? Is that through that first?
Through Money Honey and the treasure chest of knowledge.
That's the first one, isn't it? Yeah. So that was the first part of it,
Yeah.
which like mind blowing for me. And then we went into Money Honey, which was like, and like what and I'll share with you, the thing that I came out of doing that was one of my core challenges, the reason that I had the feelings that I did around money was safety.
Yeah.
And security, and I had to be really secure and make secure decisions, and
Yes. Yeah, responsible adult.
Yeah, and so sucked the joy out of my work.
Yeah.
And also put high expectations every time I was having a soul conversation with a client. I just was holding on to it so tightly. And, now when I have one, I'm like, it's almost like, whatever, do you want to work with me or not? No, never did I come across it. That is not what happens. I'm being sarcastic at the moment and funny. But, it's that feeling of, well, that's their decision. I don't have any attachment to it at all, which is amazing. I really liked those, even before I got into creating what I do.
Yeah.
Just going through that energetically shifted me. And, I offer all the time, and I'm very clear, and I've got such great energetic boundaries now, but definitely that work gave me that as well. So yes, I came very vulnerable anyway, but man, did I learn to deepen it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there any client story that comes to mind for you that you'd love to share?
Oh my goodness, where do I start? Oh my. I think I'll share this one. And normally I love to share this story about Bernie. She's been in business for 18 years. She's a published author, all of those sorts of things. And Bernie loves me, so I'm able to say this pretty straight. She really had no idea how to get somebody from interested to committing to doing the work, right? And I remember the day that she rang me to tell me that she'd had a $10,000 day. And it's like, this was somebody who had gone from almost not even being able to state their price to having that success. That's the story that I love to tell. Here's another story that happened. It's happened this year. So it's happened during COVID. And the person that came to me, one of the things that is really important for me is when I'm talking to a client, before I sign them up, before they say yes, they're committed, is I want to make sure that by them paying me this money, there is no risk to them in terms of their economic situation, right? That I'm not adding to their stress, I'm not adding to the burden, all of those sorts of things. Really, really important to me that I know that up front. So I get into the first session with this gal who had signed up, and I appreciate where the money came from. But then she told me she virtually had no money coming in as a form of an income that would support her. And I was nearly in tears. And I said to her, okay, cool. So let's just like take a breath. Let's sort this out. Let's find out where you are now and what you actually need, right? So she needed $4,000 a month to cover all of her basic costs. I looked at something that she was offering. We rejigged it, and in 3 days, she sold $3,500 worth of the same offer that she'd been making before. We tweaked it. We dealt with all this money shit that was going on in between, and money literally continues to pour into her business. You know, like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars a week, a month. She fully supports herself. She gave up a part-time job, you know, and you look at those things and you go, oh my God, this is, you know, like I remember that first session because it impacted me a lot. I was like, fuck, I've really got to get this gal moving. Like, we can't wait to build a course. We can't wait till we're in, you know, week 5. We've got to make this happen now. And I think that that's the, you know, when I have the opportunity to contribute to somebody's life like that, it just makes me come alive. When I have the opportunity to contribute and have somebody build a business that supports them, that is economically viable for them, you know, there's just no, look at me. I just love
I know, it. I love it. I love that you glow.
It's my thing, right? It really is my thing. And, you know, I love serving people in a way that actually creates a change in the world that we live in, because let's face it, it's pretty shut the front door at the moment. And I think that, you know, anything that I can do to help bring the light out into the world, then I'm serving my purpose. So,
beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. And there's been so many beautiful little nuggets that I'm sure people watching can, you know, just even looking into their own businesses and lives now think, okay, where's that responsibility sitting? You know, like, do I need to lean into vulnerability a little bit more? Yes, you do. That's always yes. But so, right? Sorry, honey.
Vulnerability isn't something that you work on one day and then it's done for good, right? Like I think about, where are we? Yeah, about 6 months ago, I went and did some deep inner work for something that was like pipping me off quite a bit. And what did you say to me? Oh my God, it's like you've lost this defensiveness that neither one of us even identified was there in the first place. I tell you what, just keep doing the work. Keep being, you know, in the space of people like Emma, who really are here to support you, have a life that you actually enjoy living, right? And that you are free from all of the BS that our mind makes up, and come home to your heart, come home to your, you know, your own personal energy, what's right for you. Fuck everybody else, just do what's right for you. And if it's in, you know, like if it's coming from your heart, it can only be good. That's how I see it. But yeah, vulnerability never changes, ladies. In 6 months, I'll do something else and I'll be like, oh my God, would you look at that? Oh, right?
I'm having a wonder. It's each and every day. The minute someone says, I don't like what you're doing, that's a vulnerable moment.
Good for you.
And even in those moments where someone says, wow, thanks, you really changed me, not only is it humbling, but it's also vulnerable, because you're allowing yourself just to sit in it with them and be grateful that you were able to do that work with them, which, you know, we've heard you say so many times throughout this show. And I do want to say a huge thank you to you, Son, for coming and for sharing this time. Because these are really important conversations for us to have. One, it lets people know that there are businesses like yours out there that can absolutely support them in their entrepreneurship and move and get things happening with the money that's coming in and out of their business, and to have them have a deeper understanding about it. And not only that, but then to create more offerings, to know how to continually do that. Phenomenal. So, you know, I would urge you, if you are in a business and you're really needing to get some traction and movement and some energetic practices around it, because that is where the world is moving towards.
Absolutely.
Energy is a real thing, and the more that we can get aware of it and get to know it and welcome it, the more our lives can shift and change for the better. Oh, what an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your beautiful time with me. So we need to know, how do we get in contact with you? Like, what is the best way that you want clients to connect with you?
My guides will talk to your guides. How about that? Should no person ever say in business. Just let me be really clear about that, right? It's So I think one of the best ways for people to get in contact with me is through the Sacred Sales Archetype quiz that I've created. And it's, excuse me, it's primarily designed so that you understand the archetype of your business, like who you are as service. So whether you're the sage, whether you're the alchemist, whether you're the nurturer, all of those sorts of things, they give you really valuable insights into how to create offers. Then I go into you know, like the sacred strengths of that. I go into the sacred vulnerabilities of that. And I also go into what your sacred client looks like when they're attracted to who you be, right? And it is just yummy. It's really, really is very, very cool. But
how long is that going to take them to do?
Oh, you know what? It's like, I don't even think it's like 60 seconds, 90 seconds if you're sitting there going, oh, which one do I pick, right? But what it does is
kinesthetic.
What it does is it brings, it also takes you through the steps that I see that are really important around your sales conversations. And so it highlights to you, you know, some of the things you need to start to think about. And if, you know, that insight is enough for you to want to book a call, then there's a book a call button inside of the quiz, right? For you to be able to be in contact with me. But I think the reason that I like that the most is because I'm giving already, right? I'm serving already. And the people that are taking that quiz telling me that, you know, that's light bulbs. In fact, I launched it last week and already have a brand new client from it. So if you're wanting to find out some real juice about you and your business, then the Sacred Sales Archetype quizzes for you. And Em, you're going to put a link, yeah?
I am. There'll be a link at the bottom of this, absolutely. But I'm also going to put up the URL also so that people can type it in and go from there. But that's the way to get in contact with Sondre from Feminine Power and Prosperity, and to work with her within her Wealthy Goddess code, because it is fucking phenomenal. And I know lots of women that have done it. So, and I've seen their businesses grow and them grow, which is just beautiful.
Yeah, it's amazing.
What a beautiful connected conversation we've had today. Authentic, and I hope that it's given you something to go with and to move forward with. And, you know, whoever's around you, access it, because learning is something that is for life. So get to know it, enjoy it, connect with Son. If you're in that business entrepreneur world, and you know, even if you're just needing some tweaks, it is well worth your time to tweak and to shift your business. Thank you, beautiful. Thank you for your time. Thanks to everyone for sharing your beautiful time with us. And like I said, the links are going to come up next so that you can connect with Sondre and begin your business journey with her.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Em. Thank you, everybody, for all your time that you've spent with us as well. Really, really good fun.
Thank you so much. Please remember, be yourself, because there's only one of you and we need you. You're important. And two, feel good for being it, because you're the only person that can.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.